Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should continue. The next talk is just a very brief overview. It's a pictorial overview of the most important diseases and pests of wheat. And again, we thought it is important just to refresh your memories of the many diseases and disorders that we can see in wheat. So if you're a breeder and you have to breed for yield, you have to breed for adaptation and for quality, you have to add usually many of these traits onto your list. And it just becomes very complicated to produce high-yielding varieties that will meet all these requirements. So this is just an overview to give you an indication of what we have to deal with. First of all, we start with the bacterial diseases. You're all familiar with bacteria, small unicellular rods, up to 3 micrometers in length. And they do not have a well-defined nucleus, and they spread by many ways: insects, air currents, splashing water, or mechanical means. And they usually penetrate plants by means of wounds or stomatal openings. The first one, bacterial stripe or gloom rot, caused usually by Xanthomonas translucens. I'm not exactly sure what the current pathovar description is. They're changing these names all the time, so if you don't work in this field, it's always difficult to keep track of what they're being called. But they can cause symptoms on the head or the spike, as well on the leaves. There is a CIMMYT publication on this, the bacterial diseases of wheat. I'm not sure if it's part of the package. I have the PDF on computer anyway, so we can put it in the other resource materials if possible, if necessary. How do I get back? Okay, next one, Gordon. These are some pictures I took back home, just again of the symptoms that we see under our conditions. Very similar, streaky, and it's kind of an oily border around the lesions, the chlorotic and chlorotic lesions. And a very good test, if you're not familiar with this and you may suspect that you have bacterial infections, is just to put the infected leaves into a beaker of clear water, and within 5 minutes you can see they become milky as the bacteria ooze out into the water, and you hold it against the light. It's a very simple diagnostic procedure. Viral diseases, the infectious particle is called a virion. They're not organisms in the true sense of the word, and they need the host cells to multiply. And again, transmission by several means, usually insects or mites, also by nematodes, or even pollen, fungi, soil, or mechanical means. They're usually quite difficult to detect at the early stages of infections because the infections are latent. They have a very long latent period in some cases. We can't see with the visually or the naked eye that plants are infected, so you have to do other tests or diagnostic procedures like host range studies or electron microscopy, serology, mostly, and these days molecular tests. Just a few examples on wheat. Barley yellow dwarf is a very common virus disease of wheat as well, usually associated with a red pinkish color of infected leaves and the leaf tips. Not similar, but almost similar to the leaf tip necrosis symptom. These pictures taken in South Africa last year in my Rust nursery. This is maize streak virus, which in our country infects maize or corn, and then of course sugarcane. And my nursery is very close to the sugarcane production area, so I think this may have been transmitted from sugarcane to the wheat. Very typical and quite easy to identify.